I am the queen of my throne. I am the queen of my throne. I am the queen of my throne. I am the
And
queen of my
welcome
throne.
to What's
What's
Really
really
Going
going
On? And
on?
I'm Dr. Karen Walker, and this is.
Wynteezy.
That's right. And we have a great show for you today because we're talking to you about what's really going on with law enforcement. And I don't know about you, but when cops pull up behind me, I can't stand it. I mean, they always give me tickets. I can't get out of them.
Be calm, cool, and collected. It's
That's
a simple
because you
procedure.
get out of tickets.
No, I don't get out of tickets.
Yes.
That's a misconception.
You are one of those people that can get out of tickets. I mean, I
just
never
gotta
get
keep
out
it
of
cool.
tickets. If I get pulled over, I always know I'm guaranteed to get one. Like some of my friends, though, they can get pulled over and they tell them some kind of story, or I don't know, they're just like have one of those ways with cops. I don't know.
I don't think so. I just think it's a time and place for everything, and you don't know. We don't know. It's just like you're right or you're wrong, and you might have to
I
deal with a
don't
ticket.
think that I'm
It's
wrong.
simple.
I just think they're having a bad day. I mean, they could really
That's
just
not
let me
always
go
the
with a
case.
warning.
That's not always the case. We have to present ourselves as civilians and then as law enforcement. We always have to present ourselves, and it's responsibility on both sides. That's all I want to say. It's perspective on both sides, and we need to humble ourselves as human beings.
Well,
Respect on both sides.
Much love and much respect to both sides. Let's get to our guests and hear what they have to say and find out what's really going on. And now, welcome to the show, Chris from Chicago, and tell us what's really going on with law enforcement. Chris, what's been your experience?
My experience has been diverse. Before I was a cop, I was a regular citizen, and I've been in law enforcement now since 2006. I've spent time at the state level as a trooper, and I'm currently at the federal level in federal law enforcement. So I've had some diverse experiences with law enforcement, state level, nationally, and internationally, depending on what assignment or what entity I'm working with.
Yeah. So would you think, I mean, just for me as a civilian, I mean, I try to avoid cops, and I think a lot of civilians think that way. I don't know, maybe. But at the state level, I mean, explain to me the difference. I mean, at the state level versus federal level. I mean, what does the state level mean? What does federal level mean for law enforcement?
So for law enforcement, state level means you're dealing with a state level entity that has jurisdiction within the state that they're in, minus a couple of exceptions if they're working on a task force, say with the FBI or another federal entity, or they are in a number of what they call hot pursuits, and you might be chasing somebody in a forcible felony, any one of 20 forcible felonies that I used to deal with, where you could cross state lines pursuing an individual or assisting another law enforcement entity due to the exception given. So it's really just a matter of jurisdiction. At the state level, you're dealing with the state, and you have jurisdiction anywhere inside the borders of your state. At the federal level, you have jurisdiction anywhere within the United States, and in some places overseas where we have jurisdiction, like an embassy or designated carve out, where we have jurisdiction over that area.
Absolutely, and I can relate to you on that. Just working in the university entity of what I have worked in, like when they say state level for us, a lot of people have a misunderstanding that because we're university police. Like when you're a university officer, you're still state, so they get misconstrued with like Chicago is for Chicago, the city level, the city jurisdiction. So and then when you're working as a state entity, you have statewide jurisdiction. So every time I would stop somebody, they would be like, "You're a college cop" or "You're a university police." So there's a difference in the levels of it, and there's parameters and boundaries. But when you're state police, that entity is, you're statewide. You have statewide jurisdiction. So that's a misconception. You know what I mean? Your level and your boundaries. people need to get more informed on that.
So then let's talk about these boundaries, though. Let's get back to me trying to avoid the police. Not that I'm in any kind of trouble, but what would you say, like some good tips for people that, not I'm trying to evade anything, but no, but what are some good tips though, like when you get pulled over? Because that's something people are worried about now. I mean, let's just talk about that because you hear different things like you should like keep your hands on the
Okay.
steering wheel and not move. Don't make any sudden movements, because I'm nervous anyways when cops get behind me because I'm always thinking like, okay, what are they thinking, are they going to try and follow me, so I mean, what should we be doing?
Well, you brought up a very good topic, and it can go a lot of different ways depending on the situation, depending on the location, depending on the reason for the stop, depending on the conditions at the time and place and the context, or even the state, and depending on how many people are in the car and where you're located. So it can go a lot of different ways. To your previous statement, of course, the police are different than the firemen, they're different than emergency services, they're different than a lot of entities because when we show up, it's usually not for the best reasons unless you're protecting somebody. And even then, whoever you're protecting is happy, but whoever you're protecting them from, well, that's the danger that you're going to. So one of my old sergeants used to say that unlike the firemen, when they show up, they save lives, they get cats out of trees, they put out fires. When we show up, people get locked up, people get handcuffed, people get arrested, or if nothing else, you get a ticket. Nobody likes what we're selling a lot of the time. We're kind of like the dentist.
Yeah,
You have to
Right.
go, but you don't really want to be around. So
it's a
that
good
being
point.
said, traffic stop. When I was a trooper back in '06, when I was on a traffic stop, I'll say this. First of all, the Illinois State Police Academy was a superb academy. We had great training, not good training, great training.
Okay, that's
The
good to
academy
know.
gave us some of the hardest times and put a lot of pressure on us so that when we left there, we had been through every situational scenario that they could think of to put us
Hmm.
through. And a lot of times you didn't win in those situations. You lost. Uh, If you learn. You learn what to do under pressure. You learn how to think under pressure. You learn how to stay calm under pressure, stay focused, stay on task. That being said, I'll give some of the advice that I give to my children, my driving age children, when they get stopped, and friends. Get pulled over right off the bat. You want to pull to the closest safe area that you can. Let's say you're on a highway. Well, you have to grab some shoulder. If there's no shoulder, maybe the closest exit. If
Hmm.
you're in an urban environment or in a city or maybe close by a mall, the parking lot might be a helpful place because you're off the roadway. You're not in active traffic. That's not always possible, but to the degree you can and when you can, that's more desirable. Other tips: rolling down all the windows if it's not, 2 degrees.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
roll the windows down, especially if you have tints, so the cops can see inside.
Mm.
You want to put the car in park, definitely. If you can turn it off and put the keys on the dash, or even put them on the roof, and they know
Really?
it's not going anywhere. If it's at night, you
Mm.
turn dome lights on.
It's just a safety thing. So no, the officer doesn't have
Mm.
misconception. So the passenger can be safe at all times. Because you never know who you're dealing with
Mm.
in an officer's perspective, and then also we don't know who we're dealing with. So that's
Right.
another counterpart to that.
Yeah, we absolutely don't know what we're doing.
That's
Good, good,
helpful.
good tip. And uh, to piggyback on that point, we don't know what we're dealing with. And let's say, for example, I might have a plate reader, and it hits your plate, and your plate fires back red, like there's warrant or there's some kind of whatever.
Mm.
That's just whoever is attached to the plate. You might not necessarily be the person driving or the person attached to the plate. But at this point in time, all I know is I pulled you over for whatever A, B, or C violation that I observed, and
Right.
then I'm getting
Absolutely.
You don't know it was a setup, and I just went to get some milk from my friend, and they gave me the keys. It's not my fault.
and we
That's
want
the
you to get your
stories we
milk. We
get.
want
We
You've
get
you to
heard
all
get
this
those stories.
before. You've heard this
and come
story. I
back
know.
safely, and
Okay.
make sure whoever needs that milk has the milk, and then you have milk and cereal in the morning.
So
Or
tell
your
me,
It
Chris,
helps.
what are you enjoying more? I mean, now that you're at the federal level, it sounds like, I mean, are you doing more like investigative work at that level, or are you actually down in the weeds? Like, are you still having fun doing federal level stuff? I mean, this is just in my mind. I'm thinking of TV, so I'm totally probably not even guessing what you're doing right.
Well, I am having fun at both levels. However, I don't think it's the most fair comparison because you did different. You did. It's in a lot of ways it's the same game, but just on a different field. But there are not pros and cons, but there are different areas to compare and contrast that are just different. For example, at the state level, everybody lives in state.
Mm,
So somebody might live north of you, south of you, east of you, west of you. Everybody lives in state. Everybody's from there. You saw those people on your squad or on your team or in your precinct or in your district more frequently
mm,
versus federal level. Federal level, for my particular agency, we move around a lot. So you sign a locality
yeah,
agreement when you come on to this force, and you could be on a squad with somebody from Kansas, somebody from New York, somebody from New Jersey, somebody
right.
from Hawaii, somebody from Guam. So all
Yeah,
of you
so you get an
in your
opportunity to
state.
work with a lot more people. So it's like a lot more diversity, actually.
I'd say it's geographical diversity.
Mm,
It's because there are different types of diversity. There's cultural diversity. There's diversity of thought. There's diversity of experience. There's diversity of geography. So there's a lot more geographic diversity. But law enforcement, if you know, by and large, tends to be more. It's more homogenous, I would say politically, more homogenous when it comes to the ratio of sexes, and it's more homogenous just because they tend to lean a little bit more conservative on a
okay.
whole.
Mm,
So some areas are diverse and some areas aren't as diverse. Depends on the type of diversity we're talking about. But definitely locality wise, I mean, everybody's a bunch of transplants in my office. Half the people are from are locally, and then the other half are from all over the
spread all over.
versus at the
Okay.
state level, everybody's from that state for the most part, or they might be from right next door.
Okay. So we're just about out of time, but Chris, just tell us, what's really going on with state and federal. What would you pick if you had to pick one to do for the next, let's say, 10 years? What's your love? Where's your love? State or federal?
Oh, that's a tough question. That's a tough question. It's a real tough question because
Mm,
there are things I love about state level and there's things I love about the federal level.
mm,
Uh, State level, for example, the level of camaraderie we had with the class I came out with, I was literally around them day in, day out, literally around them for a good
yeah.
4.5 years. You
You
get
miss
tight
the
with people.
camaraderie.
Yes, the
Yeah.
camaraderie. I wouldn't say one or the other, but I can definitely tell you which one had the lion's share of certain aspects that I enjoy.
Yeah.
The state police definitely had the lion's share of camaraderie. At the
That's
federal
good to know.
level, we got a lot of travel, met a lot of people, a lot of experiences internationally and nationally. And then you met a lot of people as far as meeting citizens who you dealt with and working with different levels, city, local, and state entities. And I found that, I continue to find that very fulfilling. Also, the diversity in the work, the different squads I've worked on. I've worked in financial crimes, I've worked in asset forfeiture, I've worked in HR. I'm currently doing executive protection, and you meet so many different people who are very capable and very passionate about their work. That it's nice to work with people like that. From different countries, I've had to pick up on my Spanish. Hablo español poquito, pero muy mal.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
That's nice. All right.
And that's what I appreciate about you though. You're very well versed, well rounded, and then you stay humble and you just do diligence in what you're doing. And then we appreciate you in this aspect in the perspective of law enforcement because you bring so much to the position and the job that you're at.
Right.
Like, and you touch so many lives. And we just appreciate stand up individuals like yourself.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you. And that's what's really going on with Chris from Chicago. And welcome to what's
Really going on with law enforcement. We're here to discuss families of law enforcement today.
Well, we're switching it up actually because this time Wynteezy is going to react to the question.
Oh, yes, and we have a special guest today, our famous Dr. Karen Walker.
Yes, I'm on the hot seat today because we wanted to know. Well, actually, no, you actually requested to know what's really going on with the family of those in law enforcement.
Yeah, so I want to talk to you more about the position of you having family members in law enforcement. I believe you had a father that was in federal law.
Well, yes. And that can be very, let's say, scary at times because you can't lie to a forensic expert when you're growing up. So there's that aspect. But
Absolutely.
then there's also the aspect when you're a child of someone in law enforcement is, you always kind of concerned and worried when you're out on the beat or out on the street, right? But I do remember my dad did get fired on when he was wearing the vest. And the vest is supposed to protect you, so that was scary. So, but it did go through. His burns through. I don't know everything about this, but I just know from the kids. Yeah, the kids' perspective, right? And so my dad came home with like the burn mark on his skin.
Oh, that's
from
scary.
when he got shot. So, yeah, so that's scary. So you're constantly worried about your family member
Coming
every
home.
time. Yeah, every
Coming
time
home
go
at
out.
night. That's definitely a huge fear and anxiety to have.
Right.
So, any other experiences that you thought about? Any bonuses or advantages that you had when you're with your family member being in law enforcement?
Well, yeah, I think people kind of say like, well, can't you just say like, oh, my parents were in law enforcement and get out of tickets and things, but actually no, that doesn't work because I get a lot of tickets, but that's because I have a lead foot. I think that's me. But I don't know. Some people I think maybe they can get out of tickets by knowing like the quirks of the system and knowing how to say different things. But I think maybe the advantages I would say is that you do learn some things about what to watch out for. So I do know one of the things that my dad did always teach me was to always look at people's hands because naturally when we're like out on the street we don't look at people's hands. We're like sometimes you're looking at eye contact, but a lot of times people that are gonna do something to you have the thing in their hands, like
Correct.
a knife, the gun, a bat, a pipe, whatever it is, and we don't even look at their hands. So that was something that my dad kind of taught me that stuck with me. So I'm like hyper vigilant, like people's hands. Hey, what are you holding?
And or just being aware of your surroundings. If like you're walking home, there was several tips being in family law myself that you had to just be aware of your surroundings. Like you're walking home in the neighborhood with your headphones on if you're coming off the bus. Because we like to educate our children and family members too as well, just being in the light to understand the do's and don'ts, especially when you're around, just being around your neighborhood. Because so, how did you feel about, or did the community feel about when your dad was in the neighborhood and always being a deterrent for possible crime and things that could happen just even in your own neighborhood?
Well, I don't know. I think my dad was kind of like an oddity in that sense, because I think my dad was a little over the top sometimes. And he was very overprotective in the sense that I think neighbors were like even the enemy. Like you have to be careful for every single person. Like my dad did not trust anyone, but probably because he saw a lot of bad things in the world. He did like undercover organized crime for New York City for a long time too. So, but I think you sometimes law enforcement can get the mindset of just be on your p's and q's and always like look out for danger, and so I think we kind of grew up in that mindset of like be careful who you trust and always look out. So I think on one hand it's kind of overprotective maybe where you're like, hey, what are they doing outside? Why is that van parked there? What is that? Let me see what's going on. But then also teaching you, like you were saying, don't walk on this, down the street with your headphones in because you can't hear if somebody comes up behind you. Or, that old trick about walk with your keys inside your fingers. Or, don't go near a white van because somebody could pull you into it.
What's with the white van
I
situation?
don't know.
There's a white
I
van.
seriously have a fear of white
Fear of white
vans. My dad's like, if he was
Any van do you have a fear of?
what? Okay, that's a good point. I don't know why it's the white van thing, but my dad would just always give us these scenarios like, okay, what happens? You're walking home and a guy says, "You want some candy? What are you gonna do?" So,
Right.
but I think everything was like over the top dramatic with him. So it's like extreme life stories. This could happen to you. What are you gonna do? So
It's just enlightenment, more like a extra sixth sense or something like that. Just because we gotta have that awareness around yourself, just that awareness. So it's always a good thing to have that. But I understand what the over the top is, just super protective of your family
yeah,
members.
and I think also too, what is kind of hard about having family members in law enforcement is a lot of times you can't be totally honest with people about what your family does. I mean, a lot of times, like with my dad, it was like he would be like, "Don't tell people what I do," and he would also be like, "Don't post pictures of me," And also, I have like other family members that were in law enforcement too, and they would be like, "I put a lot of bad people away, and they don't like me, so
Right.
I don't want anything to happen to you. So don't be. I know you love me and everything, but don't be posting pictures of me. Don't be
Right.
bragging about me because they don't want anything happen to their families. So that's another thing. You kind of have to have like the secret life of like, I don't know what you call it, like praise of like your family, like because you're really proud of them, but you also have to be like careful of how proud you are because it is true. Like they put a lot of people away that really would like to hurt them. So you have to be careful.
Yeah, that's very true. So, is there anything? I know you work for a few agencies and things like that. Would you like to discuss any experiences you may have
Gosh,
had?
I'm not a law enforcement agent by any means.
But you
So
work with a lot of top
yeah, I
prestigious
do.
individuals.
I have worked with some. Well, you have to refer to these agencies as the agency, right? Because
Everybody has the best agency
you're not
out
allowed
there.
to say what agencies they are. But yeah, when I work with the agencies, I do psychological work because I'm a psychologist, and so building different tests and profiles and things like that. But I think overall, I say it's best to think of it in terms of behaviors and whatever behaviors that we need for the job and to get the job done. And we have some of the best law enforcement
That's a good point you
agents.
make. That's a good point you make. You could be professional, on the street, off the street, because it's liability, responsibility. You have to carry yourself in that light. So it's very important to have that professionalism and just being firm, fair, and consistent with what you do. So it's a lot of responsibility, and it's definitely a dangerous position to be in. And I commend all those officers out there. So I thank you for your time and sharing with us
Yeah,
this
I like
perspective.
how you said firm, fair, and consistent because that's void of race, gender,
Absolutely.
all those kinds of things. And when people start saying, that those things come into the picture, but it's like really being firm, fair, and consistent, like are measurable things. And I always like to stick to what do you need to get the job done. So
And
I
then
like
just
that.
even with there's a lot of stigmatism of profiling and things like that with certain races or elements, the depth behind it, because you do have to be educated in those types of capacities because you're dealing with different cultures, different races, different people who believe in different things. So it's very important to know who you're dealing with when it's time to get help, because even we need help or backup as officers. You need help in just different terms, and you might be dealing with somebody, and you may need to step back and let another officer step in that can handle the situation in a better field.
So before we go, and before you get out of your question, what's really going on with civilians and them approaching officers? So what is like the protocol for approaching an officer? Because I've always been like scared. Like I thought there was like this aura around officers where like because they have a gun and like if you go anywhere in this bubble like they could kill you.
No, that's not the way police officers should come off. They're more friendly. We're more peace officers than anything. We provide peace and deterrent to the community, and we want to help others. So that's the main thing for any officer who's in the academy or new to the field and or 10 years into the field. It's just not being complacent, but also aware and always being helpful and being that positive influence to others out there, protecting yourself and protecting your community.
Community. I like that.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for those great questions. We're
Yes.
gonna have you on the couch more often.
What's really going on with law enforcement? Thank you, Dr. Karen Walker, for speaking and interviewing with us today. I hosted the show today. What's really going on with law enforcement? We had two phenomenal guests, Chris from law enforcement and also Dr. Karen Walker, sharing her time and her family experience with law enforcement. It was such an educating show, community and law enforcement and how it affects us as a whole. So if you want to be a part of our show, email us at drcombatpink@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. What's really going on? Tune in.
I am the queen of my throne. 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 They gon' hate when we get on. They gon' hate when we get on. They gon' hate when we get on. They gon' hate when we get on.